The Disaster Artist is an adaptation of Greg Sestero and Tom Bissell's nonfiction book of the same name, which chronicles the making of Tommy Wiseau's 2003 cult film The Room, which starred both Wiseau and Sestero, and is widely considered to be one of the worst movies ever made. The film takes place over the course of 4 or 5 years, beginning with 19-year-old Greg Sestero, played by Dave Franco, and an acting class where he meets extreme oddball but fearless Tommy Wiseau, played by James Franco, Dave's real-life brother, of course. The two become friends and decide to move to Los Angeles together to pursue their dreams of becoming successful in Hollywood, Greg as an actor and Tommy as an actor/director. But when their careers end up going nowhere in LA, they both decide to take matters into their own hands and make their own movie together. That film ends up being from a script that Tommy writes for both him and Greg to star in. Titled The Room by Tommy, the making of the movie is so crazy that it could be considered one of the real illustrations of both how to not make a movie, and of the phrase, truth is stranger than fiction. I first became aware of the Room movie back in 2011 when my friend Jerusha, hi Jerusha, or as they would say in the Room movie, oh hi Jerusha, invited me to a screening of it at a theater in Seattle. I didn't know anything about the movie, and it began so much later than it was supposed to that I couldn't stay for the whole film. I wound up only being able to stay for the first 20 minutes or so before I had to leave and go catch my ferry ride home. But what I had seen of the movie was quite dull and uninteresting, but I never forgot the way the audience was reacting to the movie with their noise and laughter and throwing plastic spoons at the screen. As I was leaving the theater when I had to go, I noticed that the entire theater floor was just covered with plastic spoons. And of course, at the time, I didn't realize that this occurs at theater screenings of the Room movie whenever a photograph of spoons is seen in the movie. I can't remember whether or not people were throwing footballs too. In the years since, I have learned more about the Room movie and the making of it, and of its cult film reputation as the Citizen Kane of bad movies, due to its bizarre and unconventional storytelling, technical and narrative flaws, and Wiseau's off-kilter performance. Even my brother Nathan, oh hi Nathan, is a fan of it. But it has become, for me, how I have always felt about, something like the Brady Bunch TV show, for example. And what I mean by that is that I am no fan of that show, but I found the behind-the-scenes stories about the making of that show to be what was interesting. I say the same about the Room movie. I have no real interest in that film or of Wiseau, but the making of it fascinates me, and I have Greg Sestero's book about the making of the movie, and it's a fascinating read. And so what do I think of this film adaptation of it? I really like it. Franco does such a great job as Wiseau that it goes beyond being just an impersonation. He helps you understand some more about what probably makes Wiseau tick, which is needed since Wiseau is so secretive of his age, origin, and where he got the $6 million to make the Room movie. And as the director of this film also, this is clearly a story that Franco wanted to tell and is passionate about it because his direction here shows it. There are lots of very funny lines and moments throughout this film, plus some serious moments of drama that are excellent, each of which come at a time where the film and the story need to get away from Wiseau's crazy world and into the real world for a while before going back to Tommy's world. Part of me did feel for the character of Tommy Wiseau here once he had released his movie and saw how people were reacting to it in the way that he really felt they were not supposed to, even though that reaction to the film was always inevitable. And part of me was also happy to see it happen to him because he was behaving like a villain throughout the making of the movie. My impression of Tommy Wiseau after seeing this movie is that he was a very intensely passionate guy who was hungry to be an artist, but ultimately revealed himself to be a totally delusional and incompetent weirdo who should not be allowed to make movies, but was able to pay to make one on his own, and the movie that was, which was The Room, was the best he could ever possibly be, and there of course would be an audience for it, and always will be. The supporting cast in The Disaster Artist is also great, especially Dave Franco and Seth Rogen, plus there are some nice surprise cameo appearances, and the ways they recreated scenes from The Room down to the tiniest details were wonderfully done. They even play them side by side before the end credits, and let me tell you, Franco and his cast really did their homework on those. Overall, excellent film, and the audience I saw it with at the Dragonfly Cinema were loving it. Their reaction proved it. Some of them were most likely fans of the Room movie, and those fans are bound to love The Disaster Artist too. Thank you so much for watching, and there will be more because Lehtonen's Home Theater is always showing.